And hello from Lights and Gear. It's time for another flashlight review. The one just before this, our previous review, we featured an extremely large box and an extremely large flashlight. That was the Convoy L6. Now we've gone completely in the other direction. Now we have a very small box and a very small flashlight. So, nothing like extremes in life. Anyway, this is the Manker E14. And it's one of your smaller everyday carry flashlights. Manker has, this is actually the third Manker flashlight that I have reviewed, and each of them so far have been a winner. And I don't think this one is too far off as far as being part of the winners category. So here you have right here Manker on the very small but very nondescript box they place their products in, and this one has the Nichia LED in it, and I'll get to that in a moment because it actually has more than one LED. So E14 has not been out all too long yet, and in the tiny box here you get a little bit of information. This isn't really much of a manual. It just kind of gives a lot of basic information about the flashlight, and it gives one of their favorite schematic, one of their famous, I should say, schematic diagrams as to how to operate the light. But most people who read these tend to be a little bit, they scratch their heads a fair amount because it just sometimes, to the average reader, the average user, it's rather difficult to follow. But once you get the hang of it, if you do figure it out, it obviously becomes second nature. But anyway, this has a lot of nice features in it. As it says here, it is a special edition and has a direct drive FET. So, in theory, it has the brightest turbo mode you can get, especially of a flashlight for this size. It has basically 7 operating modes in its regular mode. But just like the other Mankers that we've already reviewed, it has basically two operating modes, or they call them groups. So the main group has 7 outputs: moonlight, low, medium 1, medium 2, high 1, high 2, and turbo. And then the second group has a simpler it has a simpler grouping, if you will, where it just has low, medium, high, and turbo. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, I have not even operated it within that second group to use those other settings, because I do like the 7 settings with the moonlight mode. So that's my favorite anyway. And it also has hidden modes, which is turbo, instant access to turbo, plus strobe, plus a battery check flashing mode, and a bike flashing mode for those who want to put it on their bike. And in normal circumstances, there is no memory. Memory is part of another function. Right now, I do have memory set on it, which also includes the 7 modes. And it actually includes everything, so I can get to everything the way it is right now. I can try to show you how to program yourself out of the basic mode, because when you get the flashlight, you will have the 7 modes, but you won't have memory. You will have the flashing modes plus the 7, but you won't have memory. And because memory is a part of another grouping, but it's kind of hard to explain. But once you turn memory on, you can still get the 7 modes. Anyway, it is hard to explain. It is easier to demonstrate. But anyway, the flashlight. Let's get to the main part of the review. Here's the light. Very nice little light. Very, very small, as you can see. Next to an 18650 battery. It doesn't use an 18650 battery, but I'm just saying next to it, it's about the same size. So it's a very small light. Very everyday carry. The pocket clip I did put on. It was Actually, or did I? Did I not, or did I? I can't remember. Anyway, here's the pocket clip. I think it may have been in the package when I... Anyway, here's the pocket clip. Can't remember if I put it on or whether it was already installed on it. But it's got the nice copper portion of it here, which just looks very... looks different than the average flashlight. It does make the light heavier than the average light. I'll say that. But not to any great degree. But it is a little bit heavier. It says, let's see. It says right here 90 grams weight without the battery. And now, it comes in 2 different light tints. You can get it in an XPG2, which will actually be a little bit brighter than this one, because this one uses the Nichia, and supposedly this is 1400 lumens for its top output for turbo, 1400. Meanwhile, the XPG2 output, or the XPG2 LED, brings you an output, so they say, of 1600 lumens. So that would be turbo for the XPG2. For this one, it's 1400. But this Nichia LED, actually, look at this. It's got 4 of them. It has 4 LEDs. But it has an absolutely beautiful tint. It is so warm. It is the warmest LED I have ever had. I've had a couple of warmish LEDs before, but this is the ultimate in warmth as far as the tint color is concerned. And the power comes from these 4 LEDs. And it only takes 1 battery because, as you can see, it's terribly small. The only switch is the rear clicky switch. It tail stands beautifully. So this is the only switch. So this switch does a lot, and it's a very hard-working switch, and there's a lot you can do with it. It's IPX8 waterproof, so it's submersible to 2 meters. So anyway, and I've already explained the basic groupings there, with moon, low, medium, high, turbo, and so forth. They don't list the outputs for the other lumens. They only tell you how high turbo is. Anyway, I will. Oh yeah. Also in the package. Also in the package, you have the little accessory bag here, and this has a lanyard. It has a spare switch cap, and it has an O-ring. So that's what's in the little package here. I haven't even opened it, but I can see that's what it is. So, and your battery. Okay, let's open her up. Okay, spring in the bottom, and there's also a spring inside. And the battery is, this is what they recommend, 18350. I use IMR because they do provide more power and are high drain batteries. You can also use a 16340. So that's what they actually recommend, is rechargeable 16340 or an 18350, and that's their recommendation. So I suppose you can probably use a CR123 in it, disposable, but you will not get as high output if you use that. So let's turn off the light here, and hopefully we can get a feeling for the brightness and the tint. My website has the written review, which of course has all sorts of outdoor pictures, so you can check that out at lightsandgear.com. But let me do this. Okay, click the back, and as I say, I have put the mode, I have installed, or I have made it so memory is on the light. So I do have mode memory on here. Ordinarily, if you turn it on like this, you will instantly get moonlight, which is like this. Here's moonlight. So normally, without any programming or anything, this is what you'll get on the flashlight when you first turn it on. is moonlight mode. And in pitch dark, you can actually see rather well. The camera doesn't even seem to be picking this up too well, but it is very, very low. There it is. I can even point it right at the camera. It's only about 1 lumen, or probably just less, probably less than 1 lumen. But in pitch black, with a couple of, you'll see just fine with a foot or two in front of you in pitch darkness. So, oh yeah, there it is right there. Okay, so a very, very light press advances the modes. Click it once and it'll turn off, and click it again, it'll turn back on again, but a very, very light press advances the mode. So here we are in low, and here we are in medium. This will actually be medium 1. Here's medium 2. Here's high 1. Here's high 2. And here's turbo. So presumably we are over 1,000 lumens, excuse me, on this turbo output now. Now the only thing, now as I say, this is an absolutely gorgeous beam. There's no real defined hot spot. It's a very smooth, very clean, beautiful beam, and as I say, the tint on it is not cool white. It's not a cool white beam. It's a very, very warm white beam, and I'm not sure how well you can see that in the camera. I suppose. Now after 45 seconds of being on turbo, it does ramp down, and I believe it just did that. It ramps down ever so slightly to high after being on for about 45 seconds. And it also starts to get hot. So this is already getting very hot to even touch on the turbo mode. So that's the only problem with turbo, is that it gets so terribly hot. And even after it ramps down, another click or another half press of the switch, which I just did, it ramps back up again to turbo, if you want it to stay on turbo. But let me see if there's any way I can compare the beams here. I'm not sure how well the camera can see this as far as tint color. But here you have a cool white, and here you have the Manker, which is terribly, terribly warm because of this Nichia LEDs. Because of the Nichia LEDs. So here you have cool white, and here you have the warm tint of this one. So again, if the camera can pick that up at all, as far as the coloring is concerned, that will give you some idea. Let me try to move it over here a little bit. So there's the cool white, and here's the warm. I'm not comparing brightness here, just trying to get a feel for the tint color. Actually, on the cushion over here, there you have it there, and there you have it there. But anyway, it's a beautiful, beautiful beam, and the color is stupendous. So, again, if you want to head to my website and look at the outdoor shots, perhaps you can get an idea there, because it does render outdoor scenes, greenery, and so forth a little bit better than cool white tends to in some circumstances. So, anyway, so I've run through the outputs here. As I say, I can actually show you the flashing modes. So let me go, and I have to do that by being in moonlight. I have to be in moonlight to show you that. So from moonlight, I will give it a half long press. Wait a minute, that didn't quite work. Let's try that again, because it is the presses are very succinct as far as, okay. Alright, let's try that again. This did work earlier today, and it all depends on how it's pressed as to whether it's going to go into the mode that you want it to go into. But believe me, it's not usually as not usually as fussy as this. Okay, this is very interesting because it did work beautifully this way earlier. Okay. Here we are in all the modes once again. I'm a little bit... Ah, there it goes. I'm so terribly sorry. Okay. As I say, it just depends on how long it's pressed for. Okay, there's strobe. I was actually holding it too long. This is the battery check mode, and for every blink it's supposed to be telling you that the battery is 25% charged. And this is blinking 1, 2, 1, 2. It's blinking twice now. Earlier today it was blinking 3 times on this battery, saying that it was 75% charged. Now it's saying that it's 50% charged. Okay, so that's your battery check, or you can also use it as a location beacon. Now if I press it once again, this is a unique mode. This is the one I mentioned. This is the bicycle mode. So this is your bicycle flash. So that's kind of unique. And then if I press it again, I just go back to moonlight. So the problem I was having a few moments ago was I was pressing and holding it too long, and it was just staying in moonlight. But if I just press it for like a half a second, then it goes into the hidden flashing modes. So that was my error, as I said before, or as I said a moment ago. That was my fault for not pressing it quite right. And the way it changes and goes into all the other settings, I really don't have time to show you now, because this video is a little bit longer than it should be. But the way it changes to the other settings is the tail cap has to be pressed very fast, about 15 times. Just press, 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 tap, 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 like that, about 15 times continuously, actually until the light more or less turns off. And then at that point, it'll blink and give 2 sets of blinks. It'll blink twice once, then it'll pause, and then it'll blink twice again. And the way to change the modes and the way to turn on memory is to wait until it starts to blink twice the second time, but you have to click it after it makes one of the 2 blinks. I know this isn't making much sense, but it does 2 blinks, turns off, and then does 2 blinks again. And right in the middle of the second set of blinks, you're supposed to click it, and then that turns on memory. If you were to click it off within the first set of blinks, that, if I'm not mistaken, turns on the second grouping, whereas it loses memory mode and just goes low, medium, high, turbo. So that's how that is done. And again, that is more or less explained in the little pamphlet you get, but it's a little bit hard to figure out. It's explained right here with the blink, blink, and then blink, click, blink. So anyway, it's right here in the diagram. Since I've explained it to you, perhaps it might be a little bit easier to figure out, but that's how the modes are changed. And that is the Manker E14. As I say, please visit the website where you'll see the outdoor shots. I think you'll appreciate those. It is a great little light. It just gets terribly, terribly hot when it's on turbo mode, but the other modes it does not get quite as warm. You know, it's not very often you really need perhaps that much light for any length of time. Oh, I did also want to mention that there is a low voltage warning in it as well. So when the battery gets down to about 3 volts or slightly below, it will start to drop the output progressively as the battery gets low. And technically, though, if you're using an IMR battery like I am, you're really not supposed to let them go that low anyway. So anyway, I'm sorry if I had the light out of the camera range while I was reading off my little cheat sheet here regarding the step down on the low voltage indicator. But anyway, that is the Manker E14. Check it out at lightsandgear.com, and hope you liked this video. Sorry it was a little long, but we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.